Welcome to King for the Day, your racing's dictator.
Racing in the 2012 is still remarkably like it was in 1912.
It's not going to happen overnight. People aren't going to change the way that they operate.
The cake is big enough to divide up.
The industry can't just stand still. People think it doesn't happen. It happens all the time.
And we're in danger of losing the 20-something generation.
What changes and reforms would you introduce?
I'm the dictator, the customers are the king.
Edward Gillespie, involved in racecourse management at Kempton, Sandown and Epsom in the 1970s and managing director at Cheltenham in 1980 until this November. Winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award at last year's Sports Industry Awards. So Edward, welcome to King for the Day, your racing's dictator. What changes and reforms would you introduce?
What I'm going to do is concentrate on those areas that I think I know most about, which is the racecourse and the race-goer experience and those who follow horse racing, in as much as racing in the 21st century or in 2012 is still remarkably like it was in 1912 in the terms of the shape of the race meetings, the lack of any distinction between meetings that happened on a Monday at Plumpton and those that happened at Newbury and Cheltenham and Ascot on a Saturday. And my first dictation would be to say, we've got to grab this nettle, we've got to sort out the differentiation between the premier product and everything else. Racing needs now to differentiate its premier product. So it shouldn't be expecting the casual fan to follow the Plumptons and the Toasters on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. It should only be putting into the shop window those race meetings that they expect the wider fan, and those are the Saturday race meetings, and those are the big festivals. We can't try to promote 1,500 fixtures to our wider fan base. The Saturdays is where the fans are available, not just going racing, but watching it and reading about it in the newspapers and online. And it's a differentiation not just in terms of promotion, but it's actually making it feel totally different as an experience to people who go racing. You should differentiate the championships even. At the moment we have a jockeys championship and a trainers championship and an owners championship for all I know, but it's kind of not it's not talked about much. The problem with that is it's a very bland, it goes on all year round, but by having a championship with points rather than just the number of winners. So again, picking up on other sports, so you say actually on a Saturday at Sandown, each of those races, there's 10 points on each race. So the jockeys and the trainers, they are 10 for winning, 7 for second, 4 for third, 1 for fourth. And those meetings add up to a period of time, and it may be a quite limited period of time because the spectators, the fans, don't want a whole year to follow. They want limited, like quarters even, or thirds of a year. By saying in flat racing that those Saturday race meetings should feel different, I'm saying when you turn up at those tracks, they should feel like the high street feels. The promotion of those meetings should link in one another. Forget about what happens in the week. So top jockeys and top trainers are competing for something, whatever it is. Let's not get into detail.
Would you have a separate championship?
Absolutely, separate championship for those Saturdays and festivals. Okay. Furlongs we love, pounds and pence we love. Actually,
you're not bringing up meters in and all.
Yeah,
that.
I am. Yeah,
oh,
definitely. 200.
Yeah.
We got 200 to run. We got 200 to run. What's wrong with 200 to run?
Yes.
What's wrong with 400 to run?
Yes.
Just as I am doing that because you can't expect the racegoers of the 21st. It'll be the 22nd century if we're not very careful, to buy a phrase book in terms of what the betting companies do with how they.
Would you have decimalised odds, for instance?
That is entirely up to them. But I'm saying, as the promoter of the racecourse, I'm saying get the weights and get the distances sussed, so that people do know that this horse is carrying 65 kg.
But are people put off by going racing, put off being involved in racing because of that?
They're kept from understanding it fully by having to pick up language and nuances which would otherwise make them feel more included. And I think racing continually tries to embrace a wider audience and then puts up little barriers that prevents them getting into the absolute centre of that. It wants them to get so far, and that's enough. Thank you very much.
That's why people say racing is class-ridden. That you've got in the main enclosure, and then you've got the old silver ring, whatever it's called nowadays. It's the best mate over the far side. That kind of Cheltenham, for instance, that it is class divided. Do you go along with that?
I don't think it's class divided. I think it's means divided, but that's fine. I think you go to a football ground, you pay £45 a stand to sit down on. A theatre's the same. Exactly. So I think that's fine. And I don't think it is so class, but I think it is still trying to move forward, but with one hand behind its back, and saying, actually, we love more people to come, but we want them to learn our language. Look again at other sports. Look how they market themselves. Look how they change their vocabulary. Look how comfortably they feel with it. And little things like the weights and the distances. Why on those big meetings couldn't we have the trainers talking with the jockeys during a race, for example? Why couldn't we have Aidan O'Brien? Why couldn't we have Aidan O'Brien saying, Joseph, I think we ought to just lay up a little bit here now. I think it's just like Formula One.
And in the NFL. It happens
every
there.
Other sport.
Yes, but then our trainer's going to tell, who's going to tell Ruby Walsh or AP what to ride and go to the front now? Hold up. Will they do that?
Well, give them the opportunity. In rugby, it happens they have to bring the water on every 5 minutes.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have that on the loudspeakers, would you?
No. You'd have it
private. People at home. No, but people at home.
You wouldn't hear it at home. You wouldn't hear it at home.
So it wouldn't go out on the television?
No.
So who's going to hear this?
No, in the same way as Formula One, the same way as football and rugby and everything else. In football, who's the manager of Newcastle United? Do you have one?
Mr. Pardew, yes.
You have one. Yeah. He stands by the touchline and he shouts his instructions the whole time. Mark Yates does the same at Cheltenham Town, and they listen to him because you can hear them at Cheltenham Town. And same thing in racing. Allow on those big meetings the guy in the stand to say, rather than saying, "Oh no," to say, "Just lay up a little bit now. Just get it."
In Formula One on the television, you actually hear it.
You hear some of it. You hear some of it,
right?
You hear some of it.
And the same thing. Any of it in racing?
No, but you never hear it live in Formula One. You hear it recorded. No, I agree with you. Part of the pact with the broadcaster should be that after the race, you hear that critical. You hear. So when Camelot has won the whatever it is, you hear that little instruction of when Joseph just moves up a bit, he said, actually, that this is what happened in the... I think that would make it...
if any trainers would really think that jockeys are so concentrated, far more concentrated than they are in football, same as in motor racing, they're really concentrated, that jockeys will be listening to what their trainers
They listen to each other. In jump racing, they're still chatting to each other about what they're going to do in the cinema.
Yeah.
Last year's Breeders' Cup, when I was watching on television, I was thrilled the fact that the American broadcaster had a stat, which may or may not have been true, of the distance every horse travelled compared with the winner.
That was NBC.
And it was remarkable. Yes. There were remarkable stats coming.
And there's only something in the saddle that's doing it, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes.
But it was fascinating how far they had travelled.
Yes.
Now, things like that, again, I'll concentrate on jump racing, I know about it most more than flat, but let's find out the average length of a stride of individual horses. Let's find out and share the distance a horse jumps. The average. Does Big Bucks have a bigger leap than Corto Star?
I'd love to know. But isn't it a specialist thing? This is not going to bring new people into racing.
I think it'll help them. I mean, you race in Japan, as I luckily have done once, and the amount of information. The weights.
Well, that is
let's talk about
ridiculous. Ridiculous that horses are not weighed.
Well, you and I agree, 100%. Why is it that we have to stand in the paddock?
It is cost, isn't it? It is cost.
No, it's reluctance from the trainer's point of view, of sharing information. And again, it's so often in our sport we have this. Being a dictator makes life so much easier because you don't have to
consider other people.
You don't have to have these focus groups and everything. When you have a focus group with the trainers and with the jockeys, they say they manage to ease these things off the table. Yeah. But let's have those stats. I mean, let's have again learn from other sports. There are very few more
So
stats.
many stats in the Racing Post. I love the signposts in the Racing Post.
They're good
Fantastic
stats.
information.
They're good stats.
Yeah.
But I would love to know whether Aidan O'Brien's horses have a longer stride on average than those trained by Luca Cumani or whatever they are. And I think there's a lot of information that you can put on the screen, and it's a massive opportunity for the new broadcaster on Channel 4, for example, to hit us with a whole new way of looking at the sport, as opposed to using the eyes, use the mechanics of the sport to understand. Heartbeat, of course, heartbeat of jockey, heartbeat of horse, heartbeat of pundit.
Yeah, but it's a very, very specialist thing, isn't it? Your heartbeats and all that.
But people fascinate though. It's something it just takes the discussion of racing into a different area where people will be. So all those add up to a sport which is very much more
customer friendly.
A little bit more customer friendly.
Yeah.
I think the lack of internationalisation in jump racing is a real regret.